then he has strength. And again, it is expedient that he should be diligent, that thereby he might win the prize. Therefore, all things must be done in order. So I feel like this semester has been the worst of all of them.
Oh,
Amen. I just feel like so I just feel like we have so many requirements on us right now. Like before, we were kind of like they said it was being spoon fed, but it was more like fire hose in the mouth. Anyways, we talked about grabbing the spoon in our other class, so we have to do everything literally by ourselves. I feel like I'm dying a little sometimes. So right now, this scripture, like it really hit me, and I was like, I need to make sure to take care of myself. I know I can seriously keep myself busy 19 out of 24 hours of the day with homework and everything else that I need to do, but I need to make sure I'm getting my sleep, and I need to make sure I'm reading my scriptures and just giving myself that chance to relax, because right now, especially during the first half of the semester, I was like, I have no time to do anything at all. There was no time, so I think we just need to make sure that we give ourselves an hour a day, 2 hours a day to do something we enjoy. So I've been starting to read a book, so that's been fun. I think hopefully my grades will be nice and not show that I'm reading a book. So just like there's my thought for the day. Okay. Our dear Heavenly Father, we are so thankful for this day. We are grateful for the many blessings that Thou hast given us. Heavenly Father, help us while we are in our preceptorships and our volunteer hours, that we will be comforted and will be led by the Spirit to know whose lives we can help and what we can do to help them, and help those that are in different states, that they will be safe as they travel to and from Rexburg. And we're grateful for the many things that Thou hast helped us with and the strength that Thou gives us. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ.
Thank you so much. I can't remember the last time I read a book that wasn't received, that is.
I agree.
Yeah, that wasn't received. So anyway, thank you so much for that. And you're right, respite and self-care is very, very important. My son just graduated from a master's program in social work, okay? And so that's one thing that they really stressed in their school that I think we might need to stress more, and that is taking care of yourself, because you're taking care of all these other people, right? And you really can't do that if you don't take care of yourself, so thank you for that. That's a really good thought. All right, and so in terms of taking care of people, we have a lot of individuals out there, as the subject matter shows you, that, are still vulnerable. So today we're going to be talking about a lot of migrant health issues. ATOD is alcohol, drug, and other alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. Problems in the community, and also violence and human abuse. However, these two are going to be a little minimal. We'll hopefully get there to touch on it. But I know that things that I can bring out on this having to do with the community, we will talk about. Otherwise, I'm not going to ask you about drugs. I'm not going to, about that, because you had that in mental health, and you went to Blackfoot South, and you had that, the substance anyway covered at that time. So we're not going to reiterate. So for instance, like IPD, intimate partner abuse, violence. You guys have already done that, so we won't, be talking about that as much in the beginning. We'll make sure we cover rural, urban, migrant health issues mainly. Okay. So where's my little thing? Okay. So, which environment did you grow up in? Who grew up in kind of a rural area? Oh, really? Quite a lot of you guys. All right, and then we'll see. Where did you grow up?
Me?
Yeah.
Michigan?
Here?
Or like urban? Right in between. I live maybe like a couple miles.
So not a micropolitan and not a metropolitan, but more of a urban type area. And there are some areas like in Dallas that, you know, one town kind of merges into another. And so, anyway, look at this chart in your book. So anybody, you know, micropolitan is less than 50,000 and usually above 10. And then, so 10,000, what's less than 10,000? It'll be more rural. So determine like that. And then this is mostly in the rural areas is where the farms are. And of course, in urban, there are a lot of congestion. But that doesn't mean that healthcare is easier to attain in an urban area. But there are more availabilities. There are more, you know, so to speak, urgent care centers and different things like that. You don't have it in the rural areas. You have to drive 30 minutes, an hour and a half to get anywhere. So keep that in mind. So you have some twin sisters, Myra and Madeline. They grew up in the same small Wyoming town and ended up going to college together in the same mid-sized city. After graduation, Myra marries her high school sweetheart, and then they go out to his dad's ranch, and so they're going to be rural. And then Madeline moves to Denver and starts teaching in classical languages at a private university downtown. So no matter how alike they were in the beginning, and biologically they are still alike, but they are growing up in different areas. So how do you think, Madeline versus Myra, how do you think they would be different in their lives as they start their families maybe, or whatever? What comes to your mind first? Okay, Jamie?
This is so judgmental, but I bet the urban one, or the rural one, probably has more kids than the one that lives in the, yeah, I don't know, or maybe the health of the one that's on the farm is different than the one that's in the city.
Okay, how?
Well,
What are you thinking?
meat and potatoes farm, vegan in the city, I don't know, you know, something like that, I could see.
Okay.
I just think there's different opportunities, like there's more opportunities in the city. I think a lot of people that live in rural areas have to go away to find this opportunity.
Okay, all right. So, say you have a patient in a rural area, okay, you're, you know, public health nurse in a rural area. Let's just say you get in one of those buses that actually are provided by grants from the US government, and you and your team goes out to rural areas and you want to deliver this care that is so hard for them to access. How receptive of the people in the rural areas are they of this? Do you know? Okay. I've done some research on it, and they are very, very receptive. They are very receptive. I had a friend who actually drove a bus like that for ISU. She's a nurse. But they went out and they contacted the elderly in these communities. And they did screenings, you know, did your secondary prevention. And it was very, very successful. And I don't know if it's still running now, but it was some years ago. And they, you know, the government will renew their grants. And so that's important. That's how that works. Okay. So describe where you grew up, if it was rural or urban, and the healthcare delivery in that environment. So a lot of you guys are rural. Let's hear from you. How was your healthcare?
So we had maybe one hospital in our whole county, and people didn't trust it because there was a lot of jobs. It was privately owned, not really good care. There was usually a lot of like accidents and surgery that would happen because you're just not getting good healthcare professionals are not drawn to the hospital in the middle of nowhere, and so we usually went probably about 4 to 5 minutes to a decent hospital, 30 to 45 minutes.
Where is that?
It's in Pennsylvania. Yeah, Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania?
Yeah, our population's like 1,600.
1,600. Oh. Yeah. So that's pretty bitty out there. Yeah, good. All right, anybody else?
We just had a little clinic, so I'm from McCammon, it has about 800 people in it.
Oh, yeah.
And we just had a little clinic, it's actually not there anymore, we have to go to Lava Hot Springs or to Pocatello, so either 15 minutes or 30 minutes. to
Okay.
get any kind of health care.
Okay, so depending on how urgent your healthcare needs are, right? If you cut your finger, you can wait a little bit longer, or if you're having a heart attack, yeah.
But my grandpa had a heart attack and my grandma had to drive from 30 minutes to
Okay,
get him to the hospital.
okay, all right. Yeah, so as you can tell, rural lacks the availability maybe. So what, use your thinking caps here, what can the rural environment include in their communities to facilitate better healthcare? Okay, Evan?
One thing I set in mind was telehealth, so like having the
Yes.
technology is a big part in this.
Yeah.
Cell phones and if they have internet, which they most likely do, but it depends. But that's one of the biggest things is that way if they do go to another hospital that's 45 minutes away or however far, they can still receive information about their diagnosis or whether or not they're having problems, whether they should or not come in.
Yeah, telehealth, and remember that's the umbrella. So what's the difference between telehealth and telemedicine? Okay, telehealth is the umbrella. Okay, that's any and all the services that you talk about. Telemedicine is basically being treated by a physician directly using, you know, the net, so to speak. Okay, so, for instance, Blackfoot South has a psychiatrist over in Europe that tunes in once a month. Okay, and he has patients at Blackfoot South. And so that would be telemedicine because you're in contact with the doctor right there. And then telehealth is just a concept. So, yeah, okay.
So Joanne, I've done a lot of home health out in rural areas, like really rural, and one of the things that, I mean, telehealth is great, but most of the people I would go out and see, one, didn't have computers, didn't have access to the internet, and didn't have time, didn't want to know about that, even if it was in that area. So we still have, I mean, even with these great technology solutions, it's still a risk to be rural.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. So, you know, we are just getting onto that concept and telehealth is, you know, starting to go out there, but it's by no means saturated at all in rural. So this is just a little something rural nurses need a broad language, broad knowledge, and they need to know how to get telehealth into the community. Okay, it's not like beam me up, you know, whatever, but they really need, like, Sister Archer was saying, you know, they have to be on a computer or some kind of smartphone or, you know, those kinds of things. And if they're not even interested in that, then they need to be connected, I guess you would say, so to speak, with someone who really could get them there. All right, so we are actually going to do an activity that it's not group. It is a fishbone diagram. Anybody use this before? Okay, all right, you know that it shows. Sorry?
Cruiser 490.
Oh, did you? Oh, well, then you know all about it. Okay, I don't have to tell you. Oh, well, it's really, really simple, you know, and anyway. So it just looks like a fish, and these are all the, you know, if you have a problem, you wanna kind of diagram, hey, what's going on? This is the problem, let's back up here, and let's just say, you know, what is this branch doing? What is this area doing, or this aspect, or whatever? So if it's in a hospital area or whatever, but we're gonna be talking like if it's a toothache, you know, what's the issue, what's the problem, and that's just a very, very simple, fishbone. So I printed some of these out. We're going to be doing 3 of them. So if you want to take one, and this is just if you want to write it down. It's up to you. I'm going to just take one and pass it out. And then I'm sure you all have to it for everybody. And then this here. All right, so we are going fishing. You guys have one, everybody? All right, so with this, we are going to drop 3 fish, but we are only gonna have 1 fisherman at a time. And so who wants to be the first fisherman?
When I was watching the video and they did that, it scared me. I had my headphones in, so I'm just sitting here trying to get her, and then all of a sudden it's like.
Okay, first fisherman. Fisherman doesn't have any answers. They are just the one that writes. And you can do the colors and anything you want. Okay. And if you want to, you can even use this. I can do that. So here's, or you can draw your own. You want to draw your own? Yeah, sure. I didn't realize that would happen, but sure. All right, except that on the other end, you need to put, okay, why don't we do ATOD first? Let's do ATOD first, okay? So we're just gonna do this. This is how it goes. Every person needs to give some kind of a clue or a cause for this effect, okay? So cause and effect. So you can name out anything, and she's just gonna write it up here. Those that don't have or they just can't think of anything will come back to you. But make sure everybody has at least one thing, and I'm sure you do, from this.
Yeah, is it supposed to be a specific ATOD issue?
Yeah, it can be anything.
Like, are we supposed to, like, do we need to identify one and then do one?
You can do that.
Like, do we, like,
So this is the subject area.
Yeah, I'm trying to like think of
There's my,
What?
does that work? Cigarettes.
Or would it?
Okay,
dress.
or is it like?
Well,
it would be
on there, on the ATOD, it would be tobacco, and that's what you would write. It's about tobacco.
Wait, okay, that's the issue? It's not like a
Good job.
health issue?
Yeah, it is a health issue.
So wait, are we talking about like?
So tobacco. No, you're right. How about health
So like
issues?
COPD issues.
Yeah, yeah.
So what?
Like COPD.
Okay, COPD is good.
So is that what it is?
Actually, it's not good. So you do this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, can you? Please hit? You can use black or green or whatever. All right, so we'll start over here. So you go ahead and give a little bit of cause. So this is the effect, what leads up to this in terms of tobacco, alcohol, tobacco, other drugs.
Cigarette,
Okay, what kind of smoking?
cigarettes.
Okay, so in your chapter you had primary smoking, you had mainstream, okay, and there was also side stream. Secondhand smoke. Okay. Okay, next. Okay, you gotta be fast. These guys are gonna tell you a lot, right? Okay.
Well, we talked about mainstream and side stream.
So what do you say? Okay, we'll come back to you. Ammon?
We'll go with how many cigarettes they smoke. So maybe 1
Okay.
or 2 packs a day.
Okay,
I think I would go under mainstream, like, because it would be connected to how much they're actually smoking.
okay, and if you do that, you can actually go off here if you want to. Okay, and draw a line, all right? So that has to do with mainstream. Okay, next.
Maybe the environment would grow. It's like,
Okay. Smoking online. Okay, Alex, did you think of anything? You're not gonna get any fish.
Well, probably, well, I'm thinking of it puts them at risk for other things. So an increased risk of drinking or getting into other drugs because the craving builds.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's.
So how do you wanna say that? Increased susceptibility for other addictions.
Trying, experimentation.
Should we have the cause of
So we're talking about, this is the end result. How can we,
Increasing your susceptibility wouldn't necessarily cause.
no, so you wanna decrease. But here, no. The facts, these are the facts. These are the facts. You can't change these. These are here already. This is the result. So these are the possible causes from there, and this is the effect. Okay, so I was talking about, I would just say susceptibility to other drugs. Okay. Next? Yeah.
Would access to healthcare be?
I
Like
like
if
it.
they don't have it.
Okay. All right, maybe. You have to write fast.
Sorry, I missed that one. Access to healthcare.
Okay, Julie?
I would just say stress.
Okay, yeah, okay, next.
Sure, job environment.
That is true. I can remember a relative of mine had to work in an office and there were some smokers in the office and they smoked while they worked. And he was like, you know, he really had to talk to them about it. They didn't do anything for a while and then, you know, they really, that was a problem. Okay? Next.
No, I think they're all pretty much up there.
No. What did you say?
I can't think of any other ones.
Okay.
We got nothing.
You can't think of any other thing that would be involved in COPD.
You're not alone, okay?
Lack of education in regards to.
Good. Good.
Yeah,
Guys
one
got
more
it?
person before it came to
Raise
me.
your hands.
All right, thank you.
The media portrayal.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Yes. Have you noticed in all of those ads, whether on TV or like in a magazine or whatever, they always have to put that little, you know, from the American Health and Tobacco.
Peer pressure in high school.
Oh, yeah, great. Good, yeah. Yes.
It kind of goes along with home life, but maybe like a family history of smoking or your parents. That's just something that your family does. So it's something that you do now.
Mm-hmm. There's actually a commercial on TV about that. This lady comes on, I don't know if you've seen it, and she says, you know, she had quit smoking. And of course, she was on there to propose Chantix or something like that. But anyway, she was like, you know, my grandparents smoked, my parents smoked, all my brothers and sisters smoked, and then my mother got lung cancer. And I don't want to go there. I don't want to die like that. And so she was, you know, trying to explain that. So family. Okay, anybody else? Yeah.
What if they have like a previous health history of like a different respiratory illness? So maybe they were like a firefighter and they already
Oh.
have issues, or maybe they have asthma and they have issues.
Could be, yeah,
That could contribute to COPD.
exactly. No, you're right. Or if they were exposed to asbestos or something like that. Sure. So we'll talk about some of that when we talk about environment. So these are possible causes of one of these ATOD issues, so COPD. And that's what you can do when you're talking about any health problem or any problem at all anyway. You can use this for anything. A lot of hospitals will use this and they'll say, oh, well, we have this problem right here. Let's go put our departments down. How do our departments contribute to this problem? And then they go and see what they need to change with that said. So obviously, you know, these are a lot of the problems that will lead or can lead to COPD. What would you say they can do about it? Like, how do you take some of those fish bones out of there or change them?
I think you start low. No, Randy, you go.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you could, just educate them. For the lack of education, they're willing to learn to say, hey, let's talk about it.
Okay, I'm glad you said if they are willing to learn. So they have to be open, they have to be acceptable. So when you see a parent dying from lung cancer, it's like, hold on. You know, this is my magic moment, you know, this is the door that is opening for that person.
That's what I was gonna say.
Oh, yeah, education, so prevention level? Yeah, primary prevention, okay, good.
Wait, you're already smoking, so would it be tertiary?
We're just talking about COPD, and these are possible causes. So you would begin with primary. Remember what we said about primary? If a person gets primary education, you know, primary, then you don't have to worry about secondary or tertiary at all. So if we could somehow insert, you know, primary education way back there, you're never gonna get here.
So before they start smoking? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but doesn't
Or
the person
even after,
already have
even after.
Still don't have to.
Sorry, Anne.
But didn't you just say this was a person that had COPD?
Well, this is a healthcare problem,
Oh.
a healthcare problem. And these are all the factors that may lead to that. And what can you do about those factors, okay? So, I mean, we could have had anything up here. We could have had alcoholism up here. We could have had other drugs that are out there. We could have what? You know, any of those HCOPs. So we could have had anything like that. Thank you. Okay, our next.
I'll do it.
Okay, Alex. Then he doesn't have to write them on his paper. All right, so this is gonna be a little harder, maybe. But that's okay, all you have to do is write. Yeah, that's why you want to be here. So choose a migrant health issue.
I think maybe decreased life expectancy would be a good one for that.
For
Decreased
which?
life expectancy.
For migrant health?
So they die earlier, like 45 or something.
49.
So.
Yes, so the average age of migrant, you know, worker is 49 versus 75 for, you know, the regular population. So you're putting that as the condition? Okay, so life expectancy? Okay. All right, so what can actually cause these migrant health workers, these migrant workers to die early?
Discrimination in healthcare, so they're not getting the healthcare that they need.
Okay, what do you mean by that, discrimination?
Well, just reading in the book, it talked a lot about how sometimes when they, like, because they're more poor or whatever, so sometimes they're discriminated against in their community. So healthcare
Access, is that what you're saying, or what?
Yeah,
Healthcare
access.
discrimination, okay, that works. All right.
Poor work environments,
Okay,
so they oftentimes work more labor-intensive jobs, or they work jobs that others are not willing to work.
okay, that's very true.
Yeah, high stress load. We were talking about how they're moving constantly for work and they're not able to maybe always have a secure living space or their standards are changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially the toxic chemicals.
Oh, that they're exposed to like out in the field, is that what you? Yeah, and you know, who handles all those? They do. Usually, you know, they have to haul or do whatever with them. Although there are like crop dusting planes that may be coming over and spraying, and people maybe have been told that they shouldn't be out there, but they're out there, and they do that. So, yes, Randy.
I think another thing is, oh crap, never mind.
Okay.
I'll raise my hand again.
That's language barriers.
Oh, that's a good one. Language barriers. Very good, yeah.
Okay, they can't take the time off
Okay,
because
good.
they don't have a lot of money as it is, they're paid minimum wage sometimes.
Yes.
And so they don't want to take that time off, or they're not allowed that time off because
You're right.
during like harvest season or planting, it's really, really busy. They're working like 16-hour days, so they can't take time off.
Yes. Okay, anybody else? So where did we get? Hannah? Those are really, really good. You guys,
I think we should,
those are a lot of really big ones, but we need some bones down here, you guys.
Could one be like what they're exposed to from like where they're from and like coming over? So like tuberculosis and stuff like that.
Oh, you mean they might already have TB? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, could be. So they're already frail, and then they go work in the fields for long hours and exposed to all these things, and I saw another hand over
I
here.
can't see the same thing.
Okay, yeah,
Undereducated or
Oh.
uneducated sometimes.
okay. So there goes your primary again, right? Good.
Because of their lack of income, they probably aren't eating very healthy.
Okay, good. I mean, really, you know? And they're used to their homeland food, and a lot of times that's not real healthy, a lot of carbs, you know? And so, they're, again, you know, not educated, they're brought up a certain way, I mean, my mom does this, and my grandmother did it, and
They don't have the transportation to go to healthcare facilities.
yes. Very good. Nice.
This is way easier than spaghetti.
Okay, we need like one more at least on this bone.
Culture. So like my wife's grandparents, they're from Mexico, and they just don't believe in going to the doctor.
Okay. So what do they do?
They buy oils from the flea market, and they
Okay.
rub that on when it hurts. They do like more holistic type stuff rather than,
Okay.
unless they're in extreme excruciating pain, they believe going to the doctor just means going to the hospital. And so if they don't feel like they need to go to the emergency room, then they don't need to go to the doctor.
Oh, so they just bypass that
Yeah.
primary care. Interesting.
I think rural has that same mentality. I told you the story about the girl that on the ranch, they all thought if you could get over the first disease of the season, then you wouldn't be sick for the rest of the time, so they all thought.
Very nice. So can you see how this works? So if you are a public health nurse and you're going in there and you're going like, we gotta do something about these guys dying off here. What is causing this? And so you run into all these facets here, and these are huge. These are things that can't be changed just overnight. So these are big jobs. And these are also why we have migrant healthcare organizations throughout the United States. Many are more concentrated in farm, lands. Of course, there's a lot out in California, by the way. Yeah.
I was just wondering, about the migrant worker clinics.
Yeah.
We read about those. Like, how accessible are they? Like, where are they, like, distributed, like, information? How would someone get a hold of that? Like, where a migrant clinic is, worker clinic is?
Okay, good question. Anybody? So a migrant health clinic,
Mhm.
where would be the closest to them? That's one thing that you can communicate in terms of, your telehealth. What's the closest one? How do I get there? And how about the public health department? They would also know where they could access it. And of course, they have people that can speak their language, usually Spanish. In the book, they were saying that most migrant workers are Spanish. So that they have those things in place. Anybody else? How would you learn about those?
I can tell you, if you live out in a rural area, you are the clinic. As a nurse, people will come to you.
Remember on your e-prep where it says, this one Spanish family kind of likes you as their, and they're going to contact that person. And so that person, that public health nurse, needs to be very knowledgeable, know all the hookups, whatever comes, you know, needs to be met. And so then they can direct them. But then your wife and her family wouldn't go to them.
My wife is, she's a nurse, but she knows all about stuff.
Well, that's good.
She's only half Mexican.
Oh, now the truth comes out.
Yeah. So, I forgot my question. It was something about, do we have to like go out and find these families so you can tell them? Because it's not like a Hispanic family, say, who is illegal immigrants, they're not gonna like go to the public health department and be like, hey, where do I get the resources, you know?
They have to feel safe.
So who goes to, like, how do we get them
The
to
public
do
health
that?
nurse.
The
It's
public health
first-
nurse goes and finds them?
Yeah. How about these key informants in communities? You as a public health nurse, you're gonna know key people in the community. And those people that you're talking about, they will be known by the key informants. Because out there, even if the nurse doesn't know, other people know, and then they can tell the nurse if there's that trusting relationship there. So you've gotta start somewhere, right? And the nurse has to be approachable. I mean, it's just like, you know, a hospital nurse, you've gotta be trusting, approachable, and, you know, those kinds of things. And just try to be, yes, their friend, but also a trusted person that they can depend on. And you have to be true to your word. If you're saying you're gonna do something or contact somebody, or you do it, you've gotta work through it and do it.
Last semester, the public health nurse came and talked to the students, and one of the things they said was a big push that they had recently done was to advertise on the Spanish radio station. And they said that they had really been able to contact a lot of people just through that, so they knew that resources were there. And then just making sure, like, doctor's offices, urgent cares have brochures and pamphlets to know how to get a hold of public health. And telling the doctors to also tell them to follow up with public health. So it's just this big, we're all helping each other.
So would you like to be our third writer, our third
No,
fisherman?
no.
No?
I'd rather come up with ideas. My handwriting is
Oh,
horrendous.
okay. All right. Anybody want to volunteer to be the third one? Come on, Hannah. You can do this. Okay, come on. All right. So out of human violence, right here, really quickly, we're going to, what problem? What? What do you want to?
Child abuse?
Okay, child abuse. Good. All right, so what leads up to child abuse? You're the nurse. You want to find out what are all the facets here that I need to look at? What are all the pieces? What are all the causes that in that particular family you're working with, do you need to address?
Lack of understanding of development.
Okay, and what do you mean by that?
So the parent doesn't quite understand how a child develops, and so the kid may be screaming and stuff like that, or whatever else, so they don't know how to take care of it, and so they make it be quiet or something, or hit it or something. I don't know. That's been one of the things that I've seen in some of the literature. So.
You know, what's interesting with what you just said is on the news lately, what has been said is there was a little, how old was he? A year old? And he was killed, child abuse, and was hit. And it was done by what do you call it? It's like a live-in roommate, a live-in guy, you know, with the mother, the parent. So you have a mother and then her boyfriend that lives with them, they are most susceptible to be the perpetrator. Okay, so this is what happened just recently in Idaho Falls area. So yeah, it's just, you know, cute kid and.
You remember that video, Amy, that we used to show people at Madison? Like if it was the first kid and then before they could get discharged, it was a video about like CPR for the baby and like things like that, but also warning you that like your baby's gonna cry and you need to like learn how to deal with your baby crying and you need to like step out for a minute just to like try to let them know, because some people don't know that your baby could just cry for no reason.
Okay.
And then they can't figure it out and they get frustrated and then do what like Aaron said. So I think that's really good to understand.
All right, so good. So that's, you know, baby's gonna cry, developmental stages. How else can you avoid this?
Well, possibly like the parents having a history of, or growing up in a abusive family.
Okay. All right, good, yes. Well, and you know, that's very common, they pass it on to the next generation, right? Where is it in? Kara, did you,
Just like having high stress in the home.
oh, yes, so family stresses. Okay, anybody else?
Illness, that could be like mental illness of the parent. maybe,
Right, and
Or
actually,
cognitive illness of the
Yeah.
child.
right, yes, and so a disabled child is more apt to be abused, right? That's what you were gonna say, yeah. Mhm.
Low income.
Low income. Now, how does that work?
Well, doesn't the book say that it's like, it spans from all income levels and socioeconomic levels, it's child abuse?
Or maybe like financial stress.
I just remember reading that low income families can be the highest determining factor.
Okay, so it could be a factor, that's true, it could be a factor.
I'll just say income.
So it would be a stressor. All right, so we need at least one more. Yes. Oh, yeah, that's a big one. Drug use. But I think it's one that people don't really recognize, you know, right off. Yeah. All right, so you see how this works then? So if you guys have a problem with your, whatever you do, you know, in your nursing career, you can create this kind of diagram, but this is really, really good. This is just a visual to help you, you know, instead of keeping everything in your head, a visual to say, okay, this is what happens, what leads up to that, and then what can I do about it? So as a public health nurse, you will be assessing all these different areas. Okay, thank you. You guys did awesome on that. And you don't have to, but if you want to fish, you can take a few of these. And I was trying to get some Swedish fish, but I didn't get them in time, sorry. But you can just have some of those. So in the last 15 minutes, we'll go through real quickly and
Is it behind the screen?
All right. Okay, so migrant health issues, and these are just some of the different things I thought were really interesting. So we can see this. Randy, can you just start and read this one and then the next person?
In New Orleans, a migrant worker's thumb was cut off on the job. He was taken to the home of his employer's brother. He waited there for 4 hours before someone was willing to take him to the emergency department.
Was willing to take him. So why wouldn't they be willing to take him?
Cost of money.
They're not gonna get paid, that person that takes them not gonna get paid for keeping them. They're gonna lose their wage. That's right, yeah. And someone said something else about having papers or not, being documented or not. You know, maybe that's a fear. Okay, next.
A woman who escaped the Georgian onion field after 8 years reported that pesticides were sprayed while the workers harvested, covering their skin and clothing with the chemicals. Another worker confirmed this, saying, "If you say something, they fire you."
Next.
Between 2003 and 2006, farm laborers working for Del Monte and living in Del Monte labor camps were consistently cheated out of their pay until the Southern Poverty Law Center brought suit against the company.
Yeah. So basically, when a farmer advertises for work, however they do that, and then the workers come there, we really don't know if they're gonna have a job, how much they're getting paid. Yeah.
In my clinical experience, we have quite a few of these like situations come in, and one person came in, he had cut off his finger, but it had been quite a while, and the doctor was like using the interpreter to ask if like they could go find the finger, how long it had been, maybe they could like reattach it or something. And we just had so many issues with like them lying, you know, they changed their story every time we went in because they were so nervous to even talk to us.
So did you have someone that spoke Spanish?
Yeah, it was just like a social worker that was called down to another floor.
Okay, but they still,
They were
changed
still
their
like,
story.
yeah, they still kept changing, and the social worker was like, we need you to be like honest, you know, and
It's hard. That is hard.
I just have a creepy story. So my father-in-law's a podiatrist, and sometimes he does like free work for people who can't afford it, and so he was doing for a migrant worker, I'm sure. And I guess this guy had diabetes, so he had neuropathy in his feet, and he had gotten an infection in one of his toes, and so he cut it off on his own. Yeah, and it obviously got more infected. And so when my father-in-law went in to like look at the toe, he saw like this blackened tissue, so he started cutting at it, and there were maggots just crawling all over his foot. So they had to amputate actually like his like mid-calf or something like that. But yeah.
That's a good thing the maggots were there, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Oh, snap. I know, it sounds really gross, right? Okay, next one. How about you?
A Guatemalan worker injured his back on the job. His employer refused to take him for treatment because he was undocumented. Finally, the employer agreed to take him to the ED only after the worker first agreed to corroborate a story that the employer had found him drunk and hit by a car on the side.
Yeah, pretty bad, huh? Okay, Jimmy?
Workers in a number of states are recruited for well-paying jobs, only to arrive in farms or factories. Their passports are confiscated and they are forced to live and work in local company or work locked in company housing.
Yeah. So if you go to this website, which I don't think we have time to right now, but if you want to write this down, this is actually migrant health centers, and you can go to your state and see where the migrant health center is. You guys had a question about that, and where they can get information to help them. So this is a really, really good site that you can just peruse, and it's all about the migrant health worker. And there are things that they can have access to that they don't even know. But this is an organization that helps protect them. And remember, in your e-prep also, you had the migrant health law, or that document that was. And so as of maybe about 50 years ago or so, I mean, we've always used workers in the fields, right? I mean, in the Civil War times, and before that, it was, black people, and then after they were emancipated, then, we have all these migrant workers for all these other years. So they need to be represented, they need to have help. So if you'll do that sometime. Right, so forgot your name. I like to call on you guys by name, but I'm just so bad.
Oh, Ryan.
Ryan, can you read that?
Yes. A nurse is implementing a primary prevention strategy for migrant workers. Which of the following activities would the nurse most likely implement? A, caring for persons afflicted with pesticide poison or exposure. B, setting up clinics for persons with HIV. C, doing research in the field related to heat stress. D, educating about prevention of such illnesses as HIV and infectious diseases.
Okay, what does the STEM say? What are you looking for? So which of those? Okay. So good. Perfect. Next.
A nurse is implementing a secondary prevention strategy. Which of the following activities would the nurse most likely implement? Monitoring for prenatal care, treatment for anemia, HIV prevention, and supplementation.
Fine. She didn't even pause on that one. Very good. Oh, nope.
Using their quiet tools.
All right. Okay, let's go way over here in the corner.
A nurse is providing care for a Mexican client who has sustained a farm injury. If a major decision about the client's treatment needs to be made, who would most likely make that decision?
So Mexican, you're gonna think about their family who's,
So I would say A.
okay, so not A or C? Okay. A. So you have to know about culture and who do they consider is the most important, decision maker. Because in some cultures, it's the woman, it's matriarchal. So, I don't like to read these. Brandy.
Okay, Miriam is an advanced practice nurse for consortium like National Center for Farm Worker Health that works for migrant workers' rights. We all wear a lot of hats, she says, but the workers themselves are the leaders. We train, we enable, but this is worker control. Community leaders like me act as consultants in legal rights and grassroots activism and support recruitment and of course in health.
Okay, so there's a couple things that I bolded in here that are important for you to remember. So out in the community, you've got the public health nurse, and also there's a lot of NPs that will go and do rural health. And that's very interesting right here, that's the same. All right, so, but they give the power to the worker, all right? They don't say, okay, you come to me, I'm the power, I'm it. They say, no, I can help you, but you have the power over your healthcare, and I will help you do that. And so they work as consultants, legal rights, and those kinds of things. And that's the approach that is best in migrant health issues. So she's got some advice for those working with migrant population. Nurses who, Brian?
Nurses who can recognize the powerful influence of community relationships and are willing to collaborate with community leaders to promote the health of this special population. Are willing to use the group's processes, not our own traditional processes. If you can do that, it's very rewarding, enriching work. I love going to work every day.
Okay, so it's a mindset change, okay? So farm workers, one of you, I think it was Jamie, might have had a question about the difference between a migrant farm worker and seasonal. I'm not sure if that was your question on your e-prep, but it seemed like you guys didn't really know the difference between these two, or some of you didn't, and so I just wanted to clarify that. So migrant workers travel to do the farm work. They stay where the work is, okay? Seasonal is a person that has a permanent residence, but they seasonally go out and harvest apples or blueberries or blackberries or in the fields, with lettuce or whatever. They're seasonal, but they usually have a permanent residence. So what's a really good example of this in this area?
Potato.
Exactly. And they even, in Shelley, they even let school out for, 2 weeks or something like that, so that the kids can all go help in the farm, in the fields. And so that's a great example of a seasonal farm worker. The migrant one is the one that's usually most always Hispanic, and the traditional, what you think of as a worker in the fields, and then they just follow their job. All right, so some important things for you to remember about migrant and health workers is they have certain, for instance, higher rates for certain diseases, like TB, glaucoma, diabetes. Some of it has to do with your diet, some of it has to do with just their area or their living accommodations. High level of work injuries, and chemical exposures. There are laws against that. And then rural, anything rural that we talked about. You guys really hit on a lot of these, especially the language, the culture. They feel discriminated against, mobility and tracking. If you treat someone with TB, and then how do you check them in 72 hours when they're gone for the results of that TB screening? So those kinds of issues. So, let's see. Hannah, can you read that one, please?
As a public health nurse working with migrant workers, Miriam is keenly aware that her clientele are at increased risk for certain diseases, such as which of the following. So this is the liver, breast cancer.
So select all that apply. So which one would you select? C. G. Okay.
All of them.
You're right, it's all of us. Good, okay. All apply. All right. So right here, these are all mixed up. Levels of prevention for migrant and farm worker health issues. So conducting screening for diabetes, what kind of prevention is that? Educate migrant families regarding appropriate nutrition for an adult with diabetes or a child with anemia. And communicating with migrant workers on how to reduce exposure to pesticides. Yes,
Why are they at increased risk for anemia?
I'm sorry, what?
Why are they at an increased risk for anemia?
Okay. About their diet.
Okay.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think? What's first? Secondary, because you saw the word screening. What's second? Is what?
Tertiary.
This is tertiary?
No, it's
They're
educating.
But they're
Okay. And then what's this one? Emmett, what do you think this one is?
I don't know, I can't see it.
Oh, I'm so sorry. All right, so you guys are right. Read the whole thing. When you see the word educate, you gotta read the whole thing. You can't just jump to primary, okay? So very good on that. And then communicating how to reduce. So before, they're exposed. Yes, that's a primary. All right, so we have about 2 minutes to get through this part. So this is really interesting right here. We have a drug war budget, of course, in the United States. Law enforcement and punishment gets most of it. Punishment, okay, keep that in mind. And then only a third goes toward prevention and treatment. So, is that a little backwards maybe? I don't know. So ATOD. And can you see that?
Yeah, I can see that. It's just
okay.
any lower in heads on.
Sorry. Yeah.
Emily says, growing up in a family with lots of addiction challenges, I have always had this sense that I could communicate, I could relate, So when a physician opened up at a local drug control treatment center, so they could laugh. I applied my particular position focuses mostly on tertiary prevention, detox, treatment. It's difficult for me to read that seriously. However, we also run secondary programs like drug testing and outreach to high-risk groups, family therapy for codependency, and some primary prevention in schools.
Okay. So there's a paradigm shift. And what is that? Like for the last 40, 30 years or so, an addict was put in jail because they needed to be punished. What does the harm reduction model say?
You try to keep them out of jail
By doing what?
by treating them.
By treating them instead of punishing them. They obviously have problems that need to be treated versus, bad person, you go to jail for 10 years. Is that really going to help them? No. So we have a paradigm shift of how we think. Or we should have anyway. Okay, so select all apply. Harm reduction model stresses that. You can read these to yourselves, but what do you think? Children, don't hurt them. So what do you think? A person who misuses drugs do it to get attention. Drug addiction is usually an individual problem, since taking these drugs are not usually accepted by the family. This is kind of a tricky one, isn't it? And then alcohol and addicts do not need health care, they need psych care. So, harm reduction model stresses that what out of those? However, this is the answer, but however, I would almost say this as well, because why? When you, sorry?
You're saying that it's all a choice based on the individual, and there's no external,
Exactly. And I don't know if you've heard, you probably have in mental health, but you know what, it's not just an individual problem, it is a family problem. Because the whole family is.
So is that not a self-harm?
No, the answer according to the book is this, okay? But I would also just let you know that I would lean toward that as well.
But weren't you just saying that it's usually a family problem? So that answer that answer says it's usually an individual problem.
I know, but it affects the whole family.
So we wouldn't choose D, right?
According to the book, you would not choose D. According to real life, not to confuse you, but it is a family problem.
But it's saying it's an
That's
individual
right.
problem.
You said an individual problem,
Yeah,
just taking you
so that's not that.
And that is true, the family doesn't accept that, but it does make it a family problem. I can tell you,
Yes.
it is not isolated. Anyway, so we didn't get through these, but you guys have to go, I know. But anyway, good job. You guys did really well on those. All right, so we'll be getting into part 3 starting tomorrow.
It's usually one of the biggest parts of the project, because you're analyzing all of the information you've just provided. So, depending on how, you know, it's hard to say. Depending on, it's one of the biggest places where you can.